I'm Sandy Edwards, and I am the COO at Data Driven Labs.
Awesome. And we're at WordCamp Boston, where you just taught KidsCamp.
Yes.
Wow. And you were telling me yesterday you've done how many?
This was 26, I believe.
Wow. Over how long? And when did you start doing KidsCamps?
2015.
2015. So you've been doing this for 4 years?
Yeah.
And you've done KidsCamp at camps all over the United States?
Yes.
Great. And how many kids do you get in a session when you're doing a KidsCamp?
It really depends on the geographic area, but a lot of times what we'll find is that an inaugural or a first-time camp will have anywhere from 5 to 12 kids, and then by year 2 they'll be upwards of 25 to 40.
And how many kids did you have yesterday?
We had 10.
10 kids.
Yeah.
At what age range?
7 to 12.
So who was better at WordPress, the 7-year-old or the 12-year-old?
It's really funny because it really comes down to a lot of different factors. We do a really awesome art project at the beginning where they have to talk about what they like, and the kids who are really good at math tend to be really good at WordPress. Really? And the kids who are really good at language arts and reading tend to be really good at creating the content but not so much building the site.
Interesting. So do you team them up?
Yes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. And so by the end of the day, what's some of the things that you have kids do at KidsCamp?
So with the art project, it's all about them. So we have this really awesome piece of paper that we stick either on the wall or the desk, depending on the location. And they're drawing, writing, creating a masterpiece of art that is all about them. Then they get to stand up in front of everybody and announce who they are, and it's public speaking skills,
yeah.
Which is great. And because I make every single kid do it, there's no, I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. It's just part of the program.
Right.
And so it really kind of gets the introverts out of their shell, and it makes sure that everyone really feels included. And then from there, we're able to say, oh, well, you two like Minecraft, why don't you two work together? Or you two like My Little Pony, so why don't you two work together?
Oh, that's awesome.
And so then we kind of move around the room. But we do a scavenger hunt,
cool.
Which is a lot of fun. And it allows the kids to get pictures for their blog posts later in the day. So they go down and they have to find a speaker and a sponsor and an attendee and an organizer, and they have to get swag, and they have to take pictures of this entire process. Well, that gives them a way to blog about what they did today.
Yeah.
So they have all these pictures to describe their day. Then it's pretty much lunchtime. So they have lunch, and when they come back from lunch, we actually build a WordPress site. So one of the global hosting sponsors provides a hosting account for each of the kids, and then we build their site on WordPress.org, and they're able to use the site for usually about a year is what's provided to them.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So do they go through the repository to pick out a theme?
Yes. So as soon as we spin up the site, the first thing we do is, okay, pick a theme. Hit the free button.
Yeah.
Because don't want to lock any parents to paying anything.
Sure.
But they're able to pick a theme and customize it and add their pictures and create a post. And it's a lot of fun to see just the different creative methods that the kids use. Because some want to start with the content and then customize their site, and some want to customize their site and then build their content.
Oh, interesting. Cool. And do you take them through plugins, or does that?
It really depends on timing and what we have time for. Typically, if we have 10-ish kids, we can typically get to some plugins. So I'll recommend like a free form plugin or something along those lines, but not a whole lot. The biggest focus is the difference between a page and a post.
Sure.
To make sure that they understand the use case.
Sure.
And then also the other thing that we really focus on is internet safety.
Awesome. That's kind of my world. So you're teaching them about not only security and keeping their site updated, hopefully,
yes.
And as well as teaching them how to be responsible with their own information online?
Correct. So we go through basically the do nots. You do not provide your full name. You do not provide your age. You do not provide your school name or your sports team name. It's okay to say that you play for the Dodgers, but you can't say you play for the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Gotcha. That's good.
So, and I always recommend that parents help the kids come up with a nickname. So like my son is never known by his name online.
Yeah.
Anytime I write about him, he writes about himself. He's just the letter J.
So these kids are coming to WordCamp and they're coming to KidsCamp. Do you know, like, is there a motivation why parents are deciding to enroll their kids?
So some of it, from talking to the parents, some of the motivation is behind they're in WordPress and they want to share what they do with their kids, which is great. Other times it's because their schools don't offer the program or any type of tech, like strong tech ed. And so they want to provide any opportunity to something new for their child to give them the door to many different opportunities. So it would be no different than saying, I'm going to send you to cheer camp or dance camp for the week to see if that's something you like. They can come here and see if tech is something they like, and then they can find a program locally that is a long-term tech solution for them outside of the schools.
Sure. And are you seeing the kids that you're teaching continue with that full year of their blogs?
So it really depends, but we see a lot of repeat kids that come back through year after year. We actually have a kid in Miami who's come every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And every year she's growing her site and her following and morphing it. So her first year it was a blog, and she wrote all about slime, recipes, tips and tricks, different things you can put into the slime or use with slime or what you can use slime for. And then she got a following online. So then she came back the next year and she said, well, I have all these followers and yeah, this is cool, but what can I do? And I was like, okay, well, what if you do video? And so she started adding video to her blog. And then on top of that, she said, okay, the next year she came back and she goes, okay, so I did that, but like, could I sell the slime? I'm making all this slime. What can I do with it? And I'm like, okay, well, let's add e-commerce to your website. So we added WooCommerce. The next year she comes back with a $10,000 profit and a P&L statement, like she's running a legitimate business. And granted, she's getting a lot of help from her mom. They homeschool, it's part of her curriculum, but it's something she loves doing, and she's saving for college in the process. And her mom's teaching her good business sense because mom gets paid as a delivery driver to go to the grocery store and pick up the goods. It works out well. But it also shows that if you get behind your kids, there's no limit to what these kids can do. But you have to stand beside them and walk along with them. It can't be send your kid to KidsCamp and never do anything with it again.
Right. Yeah, if you want to really see some output with it, you have to be involved as a parent. Now you homeschool too, right?
Yes, I am a homeschool mom.
Yeah, and you run a business at the same time?
Yes, I run a digital agency.
So you're pretty busy.
I like to think so.
You're doing a lot. Wow. So do you include your son in the technology that you're doing when you're working? Where does your son fit into that picture? So
it's really kind of interesting because I really pushed heavily for him to do code school, which isn't code school anymore, but when it was one of his classes. So every day he had to get on and he had to pick a class and work through it. And so he's worked through a lot of JavaScript. And he's worked through some PHP. And so it's really kind of interesting because I'll be working on a project and I'll be developing a site or a functionality, and he'll come behind me and he'll be like, Mom, you forgot a semicolon. I'm like, why did I teach him this stuff? And I realized that really I'm setting him up for an amazing future if he chooses that path. But at the same time, it really gives him an opportunity that if he decides that that's what he wants to do and it's something he enjoys, he can join the family business since my husband and I own the company. And he could fit right in as a developer when the time comes. Now, he's only 13, so he's got some time. But there's definitely that opportunity there if he continues to grow in skills and training and keeps up with it.
Or he may just decide, hey, wow, I've learned all of this stuff and I'm going e-commerce and sell whatever. There's so many different things that
Yeah.
he can take from what you're giving him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he also has an art brain, so he's also very creative.
Yeah.
So I actually got him a Wacom tablet for Christmas this year, and the things that he's doing on the art side is just phenomenal. So I really would not be surprised with his math and engineering and building brain and the creative side if he doesn't do something like engineering or architecture or something that kind of molds the two together.
Yeah.
But it's really fun as a parent to kind of watch these pieces fit together and just having the latitude that if he's like, hey, I want to try this thing or build this, contraption, as having the time homeschooling to allow that to be a class and really foster that endeavor.
Yeah. Now, does homeschooling, has that really informed your curriculum development for WordCamp KidsCamps?
It has. I challenge the kids to constantly write.
Yeah.
And then I let the parents know that the reason behind that challenge is because when we started requiring him to write all the time, his test scores went up.
Oh, wow.
So if I saw that with my child, almost certain that they'll see that with their child. Because the more you're utilizing a skill set, it doesn't matter what skill set that is, you're going to see an increase in performance.
Sure.
So when you're writing constantly, you also have to read to write. So you're going to see an increase in your reading comprehension scores, your testing scores, and then from that, you're also having to use logic and the logical side of your brain. So you'll also see a slight increase in your math scores.
Sure.
So I don't have scientific research to back this up, but so far I've seen kids who weren't performing well, they'll come back a year or two later into a kids camp again, and they're bringing me report cards.
Really?
It's really fun to watch these kids grow and
Wow.
see them come back year after year and seeing just the success personally just from, I write every day.
So WordPress is really giving these kids a foundation in so many different areas. It's writing, it's code and understanding how code works and how the internet works, connecting with people online.
Yep.
There's so many different skill sets that it brings to. How many kids do you think you've in total have worked with?
Well, we have 170 in Miami every year.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So a lot. Like, I would be surprised. I would not be surprised if the number was over 400 or 500 at this point.
Wow, 170. So, like, okay, we had a booth, a WordFence booth at Miami, and the kids, we must have been somewhere on a scavenger hunt that you had to
You
sign.
were.
Were they being told, I think, to pick a lock? They had to come.
You were on the bingo card.
We were on the bingo card, yeah. So it was like just a mass of kids. It was really fun. It was the most unusual table that we had ever had, but it was really fun.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Made for some good stories. Those kids. So, what's the most interesting or unique experience you've had working with a kid at a kids camp?
I think the thing that was most unique to me was having a kid come back a year later and have just a full site decked out with 365 days of content.
Wow.
Literally, they wake up in the morning, they write, they go to school.
Wow.
And so for me, that was kind of the point where I said, we're really making a difference now.
Yeah.
This isn't about, the program or WordPress, or this is about making sure that kids have an opportunity to better themselves. A lot of the kids that come through some of the more urban camps are kids that come from lower income situations, or they come from hostile home environments. They're not getting exposed to this level of camaraderie and community.
Yeah.
So we're introducing them to the idea of friendship, camp, positive reinforcement, community, and that everyone here that's an adult has a career that revolves around this community for the most part.
Yeah.
And there's an outlet here, a positive outlet, and you can do big, great things, and you can make a difference. And it's not about, just the one kid, or it's about providing those opportunities to the masses.
Yeah, that's really incredible. And there sounds to be like a huge ROI that comes from what you're doing. So, but this is all volunteer, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And
it's very intrinsic.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a time when a hosting company or a plugin company looks at an ROI and sees a number.
Yeah.
But if they look at the community and the growth of the community, I mean, we're talking 12-year-olds. So in 6 years, they're 18. They could start a company. They could build a business. We're providing those foundations. We're surrounding them with people that can love on them and encourage them and bring them to what they are capable of.
Right.
And some of them are in situations where they don't get that every day.
So many of us in just American society aren't getting that because our communities are so fractured. And to have this kind of community so cohesive, I mean, I've been to a lot of WordCamps just like you have, and every single one of them has its own flavor, but the cohesiveness of that community and the intent of collaboration and connection that people come here with, it just, you can't stop it. It just bleeds out into every experience.
It does.
You know, whether you're in a track or you're sitting in a hallway talking with someone like we did yesterday.
Yep.
And so it's really giving kids not only that community that supports them and lifts them up, but it's giving them actual skills that they can make the world a better place, make their lives better by creating income for themselves. And you're doing this all, that's what gets me, is like you are making such a huge investment in this community, in the future of this community, and you're doing this as a volunteer.
A lot of the stuff that goes on in this community is volunteer.
Yeah.
And a lot of people forget about that. Every camp is volunteer run.
Yeah.
No one's paid to do what we do. And the community really is driven through volunteer efforts. One of the things going on right now is Contributor Day.
Yeah.
And so it is made up of a plethora of developers and designers and any marketers who give up their time to do this. There's a huge initiative going on right now called Five for the Future.
Yeah.
And basically the principle is that companies allow employees to give up 5% of their time to help build a better future, whether that be through volunteering in their community by planting a garden or a book stop or whatever, or giving to the WordPress their time. That's the idea, is 5% of your time. And sometimes there are companies who literally will hire someone to be their 5% for the whole company because they have that many employees, which is awesome. You know, you're seeing that more and more. But I think it's really important that companies figure out a way to factor that 5% in.
Yeah, definitely.
Because our world as a whole, as fractured as it is, doesn't need to be that way if we all cared enough to give back. And I think that's really important.
Quotable right there. It's like perfect thing to pull out and put into Twitter as like, if you're not going to watch the whole interview, at least get this, that this community exists because of volunteers, and we all need to give back to it because we're getting so much from it, and it's also, it's the future for our kids.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that's so interesting. So you have companies that sponsor you to just, what are they? They're just like covering travel expenses so that you can come to KidsCamps and do this. Right,
because the reality is the goal here is not for me to be at all the KidsCamps. The goal is for me to build an army of KidsCamp volunteers that are local enough that they can go to 1 or 2 camps in their region and manage and maintain and keep the program going. But someone's got to train them.
Right.
And so it's crucial right now at the point that we're at with the program to have someone who is willing and able to do so. I have the time, I just don't always have the means. So it's really nice when companies step up and say, hey, you know, we're more than happy to cover your airfare, your hotel, we'll get you there.
Yeah.
And from there I'm able to do everything that I need to do to make sure that we have 3, 4, 5 volunteers trained for that region. So right now, you know, we Boston, so that's New England. So we've got New England covered, which is great. I've got Florida covered. And then actually at WordCamp US this year, we're going to be doing a Train the Trainers Kids Camp. So we'll have Kids Camp, And we will be training organizers who are there at US to take KidsCamp back to their local camps, which will hopefully mean a lot less travel for me the next year for training people, because everyone will be there and get trained, but that'll be part of Contributor Day.
That's awesome.
So
That's really great.
yeah.
Is there anything I haven't asked about that you'd like to talk about?
So I think the only thing, apart from everything else, is that we do need more volunteers for KidsCamp. We're working on writing handbooks, creating resource guides, creating FAQs, making sure that when an organizer is interested in KidsCamp, I can just hand them a handbook and a packet of information and then maybe do a webinar or two. But we need people to help edit and write. You don't have to like kids. You don't have to be around kids. But we're going to need some editors and some writers to help finalize all of that. So, you know, if there's ever anyone that you know or see that is good at editing and writing, send them my way.
We will do that.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? Camera.
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at @sunsanddesign, or you can email me at kids@wordcamp.org.
Thank you very much for sitting down with me and talking about KidsCamp, and just for doing all that you do. I really believe in what you're doing, and I just hope more people can support you and what you're doing for kids, because I think that is the future, not only for WordPress, but for the kids. And it's, like we said, it's not just about, you know, giving them life skills, but giving them this community is just really epic. So thank you,
Absolutely.
Sandy.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.